live streaming. Good. All right. Well, good morning, beloveds in consciousness, and good morning to our wonderful Facebook Live family. You will note we are in darkness, so you'll be able to hear the message today. You may not be able to see it as clearly as you would like to. So it's always a good reason to come to church. Anyway, so we are coming to you live from CSL Greater Boston in Cambridge, Massachusetts at 50 Dudley Street. I am Rev G. Stewart, or Reverend George Stewart, but I prefer Rev G. And I am here along with Reverend Ed Tansey as the spiritual leaders and founders of this glorious community of like-minded and joy-filled individuals. So, if you have any questions about our community, please go to our website, cslboston.org, and there you will find how our community can support you and how you can support our community in this ministry of love and light. So, this year, the CSL 2018 theme is 100 Years of Science of Mind. Our March theme is You Are Rooted in the Divine. Hasn't this been a great month? Being rooted in the divine, remembering who we are. My talk today is the self-evident truth within you. And that is actually from Living the Science of Mind. That is such a wonderful book. So today we have a brief talk and join together to install and celebrate our practitioners and our leadership council. These are individuals who have chosen to step into service and know that God is the self-evident truth within them. That's a power that we recognize as we step into service. So self-evident, defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is evident without proof or reasoning. Evident without proof or reasoning. Now, we are so blessed to have this philosophy where Ernest Holmes pulled it all together with logic and clarity for us in living the science of mind, but also in the science of mind itself. He brought it all together so that for us it was easier to step into that self-evident truth. It's easier for us to recognize and find a community within that. So it's so powerful. His deductive reasoning brings us to a God of our understanding and a truth that is everywhere present and is the core of our being. The core of our being. A truth that is absolutely who we are. I have to briefly just say that Rev Ed and myself went and saw that fabulous movie, A Wrinkle in Time. And it is science of mind on steroids.
Yes.
I will just say that. For those who haven't seen it, see it. It is like explaining our philosophy in such a powerful way. But it's what we've been doing for years, and the world is waking up. We are in a time when the world is waking up. So Ernest Holmes tells us, if God is all there is, then past, present, and future, time, experience, and form, if they exist at all, must exist as some part of truth, with a capital T. If this truth is all there is, we also must be included in it, and we should identify ourselves with it. So what he's saying here is that we are a part of that. We are one with that. We have all that it has, because that's the truth of the divine. It is everywhere present. I like to say that, we drop into this body, and we forget who we are. We forget that we are light. We forget who we are, and we end up spending time waking up. So we have to choose to wake up to the fact that we are light, that we are love, even in a world that gives us less than that. Because that sometimes is the appearance in the world. But that is not the truth of who we are. That is not the truth of who we are. That is the power. So I just want to share with you this wonderful, I'm going to paraphrase a story from an ancient Hindu scripture. And this gives a sense of the omnipresence of God or the truth. So I just want you to listen to this story as I relate it to you. One day, God and the sage named Narada are walking across a vast desert. Narada turns to God and asks, "O greatest Lord, what is the secret of this life and the appearances of this world?" Well, God smiles but makes no reply. The sun is hot that day, and they continue on. And God says, "The sun is very hot, and I am thirsty. Narada, would you go ahead into that village up ahead that I know is there, and go there and fetch me a cup of water?" So Narada, wanting to, please his Lord, he goes. Narada goes and approaches the first house that he sees and knocks, and a beautiful woman answers. The moment he looks into her eyes, he forgets God's request. He forgets God's thirst. He is then welcomed into the house by this beautiful woman, and he is welcomed by the family. It's as though they all expected him, as though he was meant to be there. He is then invited to dinner. He stays the night and accepts, and all the time he's secretly marveling at this young woman's loveliness. Weeks go by, and he decides to stay on and help around the house and do some chores. After some time, he asks to marry the young woman, and the family seems to expect this request with joy. Narada and his young wife settle down in the family's home, and soon after, they have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. Life is going well. Life is beautiful. And then as time passes, the beautiful woman's parents pass away. They move on. And Narada steps into the head of the household. And he opens a small shop in the village and prospers greatly. He has a wonderful life. He has so much going for him. He becomes a civic leader in the community, settles in the village for many years. He settles into this village life. Until one day, a great storm comes, and the village begins to flood. He grabs his family. He takes them with him to higher ground. And as he's moving to this higher ground, the one son in the wind and the rains and the pelting rains is pulled from him and is lost into the darkness. And as he reaches out for that son, the other son's hand falls from his hand and is pulled into the darkness and lost into this storm. And as he wails to reach for that son, his daughter is then lost from his hand. And then soon his wife is washed away. And in all of his pain, he's suffering and he's feeling such pain. He's feeling so helpless. And just as he wails, this huge wave takes him and rolls him into the river, pushes him into the water, where he goes black. And he comes to, in just a few days, he comes to, not knowing how much time has passed, laying on a sandbar long from his village. And he's unable to, connect with anything. There is darkness everywhere. There is the smell of death in the air. And he lays there thinking the only thing that he can do in all of this pain is to cry. And then suddenly, Narada hears a voice behind him that makes the blood in his veins freeze. "Where is my cup of water?" Narada turns and sees God standing at his side. The river vanishes, and once again he and God are alone in the empty desert. Narada turns and sees God, and God says again, "Where is my water? I have been waiting for you for the last several minutes. Where is my water?" Narada throws himself at the Lord's feet and begs for forgiveness. I forgot what you asked of me, great Lord. Forgive me." God smiles and says, "How now do you understand the secret of life and the appearances of this world?" So you see, we are always in this place where Narada is. We fall into these bodies, we forget who we are, and we spend the rest of our time trying to remember who we are. And what we remember is that the self-evident truth is within each and every one of us. We are that light. We are that love. We are all that God is. So it's important that we remember that. And we remind ourselves of the self-evident truth that we are always one with the divine. So as we wake up to and step out of the illusion that we call life, we remember who we are. So we have the power of conscious choice. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Yes.
We always have the power of conscious choice. That means any time you and I can be free by simply aligning ourselves with this self-evident truth, with this reminder of who we are. So there's a big question that's in the class materials for Principles of Financial Freedom, and I just wanted to share this with you because I think this is a great way to be a truth test for us in our lives. In any situation, ask yourself, if this were true, would I be more free? If this were true, would I be more free? Reverend Dr. Marcia Sutton says, when our beliefs are in alignment with the truth, they will always produce greater freedom in our experience of life. I'm going to say that one more time because that's important to remember. When our beliefs are in alignment with truth, they will always produce greater freedom in our experience of life. So you see why you have that question. If something is coming up in my life, I'm feeling called to it, I need to ask that question. I need to always ask that question of, if this is true, if this were true, would I be more free? Because it's important to remember that. Ernest Holmes tells us, but since truth is freedom, then a knowledge of truth is freedom. Has anybody recognized that in their life, in their day-to-day experiences? Where when you realize the truth, you're like going, oh, I was the one building the bondage around myself, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to move into that. So Ernest Holmes says that, and then he says, to know the truth is to be free. Truth and freedom are identical. Truth and freedom are identical. When I move from the story, the limitation, the separation, I can move into the light at any time because the light is always available. It's ever available. It's never not available to us. So we have to remember that. So in the Bible it says, everything exposed to light itself becomes light. That's in Ephesians 5, verse 14. I'm going to say it one more time. Everything exposed to light itself becomes light. So when we expose ourselves to our self-evident truth, we become light. And that's the important thing. Because I need to be light, especially in the dark times. Because that's how I get myself through that. When I bring the light into the darkness, what happens? The darkness dissolves. It's gone. When we opened the curtains, we brought light into the room so that we could have service even without electricity in this building or this room, whatever it is. We are blessed. We are so empowered. So in a few moments, we will be installing individuals who have chosen a life of dwelling on this self-evident truth in their lives. My call to each of us today is to use our spiritual practices of prayer, meditation, spiritual mind treatment, spiritual study, visioning, to move your life into the choice that you are indeed the light. And when you feel you're not sure, ask the big question, if this were true, would I be more free? Namaste.
Namaste. Beautiful.
So Barbara, if you would do our spiritual mind treatment.
continuing in this consciousness of oneness, together we pray. And I know that each and every one is living their life of bliss. Each and every one is in the realization of their divinity, their light, their love, their power. And so I know that there is only one. Matters not the name that we use. I honor all names for this divinity, for this divine creator. I honor all paths to this one divine truth. And so knowing and standing in the consciousness of this one love, this one light, this one magnificence, this one that has created me in its spiritual image and likeness. And so I know that I am love, I am light, I am this divinity. I claim and accept that on behalf of myself. And I claim and accept it on behalf of each and every one and the all. I stand knowing that in this next step forward, and each moment is a new moment. And so as each one takes the next step in this life experience, they are taking it in the state of realization of their power. They are taking it in the state of realization of their oneness, of their light, of their love, of their divine magnificence. Each one in the state of realization that they are God in action. Each one knowing that they are a creation of the Most High, created in this divine image and likeness. I claim and accept a life of bliss for each and every one. I claim and accept that each one is living perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect happiness, that each one is living in this state of realization of their power, of their divine magnificence, of their oneness with the divine. And so knowing that this is the truth of each and every one, I stand in this place of overwhelming gratitude. Gratitude to see, know, and feel the divinity of each and every one, here and beyond and the all. And so from this place of high gratitude, I simply breathe this into the law of spiritual activity. I know that it is already so in the mind of God. I know that this is truth right here and right now. And so standing in this place of unqualified faith and conviction, I simply let it go. I let it be. I say amen and alleluia. And we join together in affirming this word by saying, and so it is.
So we have an affirmation. I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. My life is the life of God.
My life is the life of God.
Therefore, divine wisdom, clarity, and power
Therefore, divine wisdom, clarity, and power
guide me, and I am free.
guide me, and I am free.
Want to do that again?
Yes. Okay.
Let's do it again. My life is the life of God.
My life is the life of God.
Therefore, divine wisdom, clarity, and power
Therefore, divine wisdom, clarity, and power
guide me, and I am free.
guide me, and I am free.
Wonderful. And that comes from Reverend Eunice Califunt in CSL Palm Springs. Yes. All right. Now's the time for our installation.
Yes. So, as you know, today is so very, very special for all of us. Because this is the morning that we are installing two phenomenal, powerful, loving practitioners. And these two lovely people go by the name of Barbara Fewitt and Penny Shore. Now, Penny could not be with us today, and I believe
We're going to try and FaceTime.
we're going to try to FaceTime her in. So I'm going to continue just as if she is here. So again, we are just so blessed and full of gratitude to have Barbara Fewitt and Penny Shore as part of the ecclesiastical team here at this center. And you know, the path for one to become a licensed practitioner, I want to let you know what that path is. First of all, it's successful completion of 6 to 7, depending on when you join the practitioner training classes. before you're even able to apply to be a practitioner. So you have those 6 or 7 classes, then you have an oral interview prior to being accepted into the program. Now the program itself is a 2-year intensive study. And they have 30 classes that meet for 3 hours a week for 2 years. Now they're still not done. After the completion of all of their coursework, then there's a written final exam that each student must take successfully. Then after this successful completion of the final exam, they're still not done. Then they go in front of a panel of 1 minister and 2 practitioners, and an oral panel is conducted. So, you know, as you can see, this path really takes, as I feel, such a calling and a love and a dedication and strong belief in the science of mind philosophy. And also, there is a desire that each one of these lovely people, whoever they may be at any time in the practitioner studies, a desire to serve humanity.
So, do we have Penny? Were we able to get Penny on FaceTime?
Could you?
Is she not picking up?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I have her on my phone, but I don't know if she just showed up.
Oh.
It
She
just says-
did?
It just says Penny Shaw,
Oh.
would like FaceTime. I didn't do anything.
Say yes.
Say yes, say yes.
Say yes.
She's gone now, I don't know.
All right.
That's all right. You should be able to call back.
Well,
You should be able to FaceTime back.
So again, and as you know, I'm letting people on Facebook know, we have no power, no electrical power, and no lights, plus no heat. How's everyone doing with the heat? Are you okay? Because yeah, me too. But we are continuing with this.
I have a
very
jacket in
special
the other
day.
room. If
No
you want
Penny.
Yes?
to.
And I see her.
All right.
Okay, so good. Penny is here, everyone. So
All right.
In yes.
Yes. All right. So, Barbara and Penny, you have chosen a pathway in life that is and ever shall be rich in interest and fulfilled with beautiful spiritual discoveries. To serve, you can turn it this way, yeah, so she can see me. To serve
She'll fix it.
as a licensed practitioner is to lead those who look to you for spiritual growth and spiritual guidance into assurance and an acceptance of the wholeness of spirit, soul, and body. For this work, you are well prepared. Your deep understanding of life's principles of human nature, your compassion and warm empathy will be called upon by those who look to you for the living demonstration of our teaching and our practice of spiritual mind healing. You are, as a licensed practitioner of the healing methods of science of mind, by the authority of Centers for Spiritual Living. Therefore, it is right and fitting that you pledge your alignment and alliance to the teaching, the methods, and the center in whose name you will perform your healing arts.
So now both Barbara and Penny, I'd like you to answer the following questions or the following vows with I do, if you are in agreement. So Barbara, why don't you stand, because these are your vows.
Since you're present.
Since you're present, and Penny,
And
Liza
Liza
is
standing
standing
for
with
you,
you
Penny.
for you. Okay. Oh. All right. So here are your vows. Do you give your unqualified loyalty and support to the Centers for Spiritual Living and agree to live by the principles of this center to the best of your ability?
I do.
Do you agree to abide by the policies and regulations which govern a professional practitioner of the Centers for Spiritual Living?
I do.
Do you dedicate yourself to faithful meditation and diligent study in order that you may expand the consciousness of your professional practice?
I do.
I do.
Do you dedicate yourself to do your utmost to reflect at all times the spirit of truth?
I do.
I do.
Do you commit yourselves to absolute confidentiality, keeping inviolate the identity and confidences of those who come to you for assistance, unless you receive their explicit consent to do otherwise?
I do.
I do.
As a loyal and supporting member of Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, will you uphold and support this center and the Centers for Spiritual Living through spiritual mind treatment?
I will.
I will.
Do you feel in your heart that you are qualified and prepared to serve as a licensed professional practitioner? Fulfill these vows. By the authority vested in me as one of the spiritual leaders here at the Center of Spiritual Living for Greater Boston, I'm getting emotional. I celebrate and confirm your dedication as practitioner of the Centers for Spiritual Living. So it's now my honor and my pleasure, my big honor and my big pleasure, to present you with this symbol of beauty as you live your chosen work. And there's a rose coming over, my dear, for you. Hi, Henry.
The stole represents your commitment to Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston and your stepping forward in service to us and to the world. The stole has long been a
Be the living embodiment of prayer. What it means to be a licensed practitioner of science of mind. And to be able to embody prayer as the method of attaining what we know as divine love. So I hope that I can inspire each and every one of you to understand that with
wonderful feeling in words, Penny. Thank you. And so I too stand in a place of gratitude to all of you for welcoming me to CSL Greater Boston. As a practitioner, every 2 years you reflect on your ministry and you reflect on where you've been and what it is and how it is you are called to move forward. First of all, if you're called to continue to move forward as a licensed practitioner, and if so, on what path, what ministry, what is it that we will bring into these next 2 years of service. And my history with Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston goes back to a seed in the eye of Reverend G and Reverend Ed. Our relationship goes back further than that, as Reverend G came to Concordia as a first-year practitioner, and I was blessed to be in that Concordia community who welcomed him and went to him as a practitioner with guidance about, well, for everything. I mean, he was doing service when he was, I don't know, 1 month into Prac 1. So we have been on this spiritual journey together for many years. And their vision and their intention, and to have been part of the intention and the vision of CSL Greater Boston, was a great honor. I love my Concordia community. We are spiritual brothers and sisters and always will be. And all of those who have come before us to Greater Boston, who are here now and who are yet to come, I honor you and I am so grateful to you. So in those reflections, I am being called to bring forth this teaching, this presence,